Hey, if you're mad at me, I don't blame you. Hey guys, Joe Simpson. Welcome back to Capital Bass Fishing. I've been really busy and I'm so sorry that it's taken me this long to come out with another video, but I thought I would come out with one prior to the weekend so we could get ready for this good weather and some of the changes that we're going through. And I wanted to talk about 4 fall baits that I love to use and try when the seasons start to change. Now, something starts to happen about this time of year. We're kind of crawling out of the summer months. We're getting towards the fall. The mornings feel a little cooler. The evenings feel a little cooler, but we still get pretty hot during the day. At that time frame, you're not really in the fall. You're not really in the summer. It's autumn, I guess you'd call it. So it's really hard to determine where these fish are and what they're doing because they're still running away from the heat a little bit and they're starting to get a little more active in feed. So they're doing strange things at different times and it's really hard to predict. When you finally get a boat to go fishing in some of these ponds and these lakes, I always find myself going out in the boat, spinning around and casting right back to the shore that I could have been fishing off of the whole entire time on foot. But when you're on shore, you like bomb cast your lures as far out into the water as you can get them because those are the areas you can't get to when you're on foot. So it's really hard to determine what you're supposed to be doing. And I think you can break it down into little layers and chunks as you're working your day. When I go out fishing with my buddies, we'll typically kind of just start down an embankment and we'll just start working the bank and the shallows. And we usually start off with a frog. My frog of choice is the I'm a Dabiet frog or the I'm a Debit frog. Pat likes the Kyara. So today I'll just show you some pictures of the Kyara frog. When it comes to the Kyara frog, really you can just get the white or the dark black one. And I'll show you some of these colors as we go through. Both of those work good. And there's other colors like Hasu, and there's one called Gill. Those are both good colors. And then there's one called Green Frog. So I would give all of those consideration, but really just start with a dark and a light one. Color of your choice, it doesn't matter. But you'll find out pretty quickly if these guys are going to be hitting the frogs at all. They'll tell you right away. They either won't or they will. And you can force a frog bite. You can hold out for the bigger fish, but you'll often have more fun in the fall if you try something, put it down, try something else, and you just keep moving through your baits until you find the magic bait. The other thing that happens around this time of year is that the grass will start to not just die back, but it'll start going subsurface. A lot of times in these ponds and these lakes around the edges, in the summer months, you have a lot of vegetation, a lot of algae, and a lot of growth on top of the water. So you really have to throw either just a frog or something very weedless on top of that. The beauty of the fall is all of that vegetation starts to recede and kind of go subsurface. Now it's still under there, which is good because it's holding fish in that cover. So maybe you could cast something like a popper in that area. And when it comes to poppers, really stay basic. I like the triple threat, the Rebel poppers. Those are good basic poppers to start with. You can get the 3 you need for $9.99. So I would grab 2 or 3 of these poppers. And if you have clean water and you can fish the shallows with a popper, if they're not hitting the frog, the next thing I would try is a popper. Maybe they're more attracted to noise and the rattle. And then usually after I've tried the shallows for a little bit and I can't get any bites, maybe I'll throw plastic up in there in the shallows. But typically I'll just kind of spin around and I'll start fishing that next 20-foot zone out from the bank, maybe at that 3 to 6 foot depth. And I'll start running parallel to the banks. A lot of times on those slopes where it goes from shallow to deep, the vegetation has like a point where it'll just stop. And then it'll just go to like nothing. Often those bass will sit in that vegetation and they'll ambush anything that goes by. Spinning around, fishing parallel to the bank from your boat at that point, run like a rattle trap. And one of my favorites is a rip and wrap. And these come in a myriad of colors. You could really buy them all and have just about every color under the rainbow. But I think something chartreuse is good. I think probably anything red, especially this time of year moving into winter, is awesome. And then you could get something that's just natural, like a shad color. Don't go too crazy. Get the 3 or 4 colors you have faith in and throw those. But the nice thing about this time of year is the water's still very warm, the fish are still active, and fish are blazingly fast. You think sometimes when you're ripping these lures through the water, I'm never going to catch anything because I'm moving too fast. But often you'll be surprised. I've seen many, many videos where people are finished with their cast. They're just burning the lure back in to get it ready to cast again. And sometimes they'll get hit when they're doing that. So what I do is I run the rip and wrap fairly quickly. And what I'll do is I'll start towards the bank and I'll hit grass. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to clean my hooks, cast a little bit more to the left to the deeper water, and hit grass again. And then I go a little bit more left, a little bit more left. And then finally I'll find a place where I'm clean. And then I'll let it fall all the way to the bottom. And if I get all the way to the bottom and I'm clean, when I get back, I know that that's kind of where the grass line is. And sometimes I'll try to work the rip and wrap across there. Now, if the vegetation has receded down and you've got 2 or 3 feet of space above that vegetation to the water surface, you can burn that rattle trap across the top of the grass too. Sometimes you'll get blown up like that. So the rip and wrap is great for that. And don't forget about the square bill. That is the go-to all around, all year bait, but really it's special in the fall and winter. And keep in mind when you're using these treble hook baits, you might want to use a rod with a little bit softer bend to it, because you don't want to just rip these hooks out of the mouth, because these treble hooks won't bite and hold as well as like a big, like 5/0 worm hook or something like that. So pull out the square bills. And when it comes to a square bill, again, red, shad, and usually like a white or something natural. This time of year, I'm starting with natural to see how it takes. If they won't hit natural, I'll get loud. Then I'll go chartreuse. If they won't hit chartreuse, I'll go red. And then you'll usually land on a color that's going to work. It's usually going to be one of those 3. And again, I try to run a shallow runner across the top of the grass from the shallows deeper. If the shallows aren't kicking, I'll turn out and go 6 to 10 foot of depth just past the grass line and do that. And then sometimes what's nice about the rattle trap and the square bill, if none of that's working, you can always turn around to the deep water and just cast that stuff out there and let it drop to the bottom. And then once you've let it hit the bottom, just pick it up and start reeling it in slowly. And a lot of times you're going to find those fish that are really deep. Last but not least, one of my favorite baits where you could fish all of these areas with one bait, shallow, medium, and deep, and do it all, the Keitech swim bait. The Keitech swim bait is such a great transition bait, meaning time of year transition, summer to fall, fall to winter, spring to summer, all those times. And the thing that's great about the Keitech is that it looks like a fish and it swims like a fish, and they're very effective. The scenting is good, the build quality is good, and they're proven. The typical way I rig my Keitech is with a belly-weighted swim bait hook. The best thing to do, in my opinion, is to take a belly-weighted swim bait hook and rig it weedless. That way you can throw it way up in the shallows and drag it through that grass. And sometimes you'll get something to bust it up there. You can throw it just about anywhere because it's weedless. It's not going to get a bunch of gunk on it every cast. And if it does, it's so easy to clean. You can usually flip your rod tip around a couple times, clean it off, and cast it back out. The only drawback to the Keitech is they're only good for about 3 fish, and then you got to put another one on. And each pack is like $4 or $5, but it's worth its weight in gold. The Keitechs have such a great kick. They have such a good action, and they're so versatile. So the 2 ways I would do it is a belly-weighted swim bait hook or a belly-weighted underspin swim bait hook. And those are awesome. If you're swimming open water, no trash, no stuff, then you could just do a jig head with an open hook. That works fine too. If you want to go and use a bait as an all-around finder, whether it be shallows in the trash or around vegetation or deep water, the Keitech swim bait's hard to beat. So those are my 4 or 5 picks for baits for the fall. I think I might have gone more than 4. But anyway, I wanted to bring those to you and show you all the different baits that I love to use. And hopefully you guys will have luck this weekend. I got a new camera, so I want to talk about that. I have some new gear. I want to talk about that. And I'm going to reorganize my garage, and I have a new toy coming out there for all my fish stuff. So hopefully we'll do a video about that too. But I appreciate you guys coming back and watching my stuff. I know it's been 3-4 weeks. I apologize. I'll do more and do better on the videos, but tight lines. Take care and like and subscribe. I appreciate all of you. Thanks so much. Bye.